Hey guys, Travis Gillespie. In the last video we talked about lines and determining from the graph by using the slope form if those lines were actually perpendicular or not. So now we're going to move forward from here because the last couple of videos we've talked about parallel and perpendicular lines. So we're going to learn how to write equations of parallel and perpendicular lines. Well, let's look at this first problem here. So reading through this, write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line that passes through 5, 7, and is parallel to the line described by y equals 4 over 5x minus 6. So I've got this line right here described by this equation. It looks like it's in slope-intercept form. So what it wants me to do is actually determine how to write the other equation to the parallel line. So the first thing I need to do is find the slope. So step 1 to this process is, call it step 1, is find the slope. Well, you know that parallel lines have slopes that are equal to each other. So the slope to this line is 4 over 5. So I'm going to say my slope here equals 4 over 5. Cool. So step 2 here, the second step is to actually write it in point slope form. That is the formula for slope. So I've got to write the equation for the line that passes through 0.57 in point slope form. And here is actually that formula for point slope form. So step 2, write an equation in point slope form. Well, how do I go about doing that? It's not too tough once you start to break the problem up, because you see that actually in this equation you're given all the information. You're given the slope, which is 4 over 5. And you're actually given 2 of the points. And what I can start writing out here is y minus, well, y sub 1 is going to be that value of the 0.7. Y minus 7, which equals m, which is my slope, 4 over 5. And that's going to be multiplied by x minus x sub 1, and x sub 1 is the other value in my ordered pair, which is 5. So I've got my equation in point slope form. So now my last step, I've got one more step here, and that step, let me clear that up. That last step here, step 3, is to actually write it in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to rewrite this equation in slope-intercept form. So all I have to do is first distribute 4/5 to each part of the equation, and then move on from there. So I've got y minus 7 equals 4/5 x, 4 over 5x here, minus, well, 5 times 4 is 20 over 5. And that's actually going to give me y minus 7 equals 4/5 x minus 4. Now the last part here to write this in slope-intercept form is to actually add 7 to both sides of the equation. So I'm going to add 7 here, add 7 there, and that's supposed to be addition right here. So that last part, what I'm finding out is y equals 4/5 x plus 3. Now I have got the parallel line here, the parallel line to the other equation, written in slope-intercept form. And I'm going to actually indicate that, yes, both lines are parallel. You can tell by looking at the slope, 4/5, and written in slope-intercept form. Cool stuff. Let's go and look at another problem here. And instead of looking at a perpendicular, a parallel line, we're going to look at a perpendicular line in this case. Okay, so let's read through here. Write an equation in slope-intercept form that passes through point 5, -5, 3, and is perpendicular to the line described by y equals 5x. Cool. So again, the first step here, step 1, is to find the slope. Find m. Okay, so if I'm going to find the slope here, all I have to do is look at this equation and say, all right, the slope is 5 for this equation, y equals 5x. So the slope is 5. Therefore, my slope of the opposite line, or the perpendicular line, has to be the opposite reciprocal of 5. So that opposite reciprocal here is going to actually equal, well, -1/5. So now step 2. Step 2 is to write the equation in point slope form. So that's going to give me y minus, now y sub 1 here is going to be 3, positive 3, equals, well, the slope is -1/5 here, times x minus -5. So now from here, let's actually simplify this a little bit and keep moving on. So now I know that y minus 3 equals -1/5 times x, actually negative. Minus negative will actually be a plus, plus 5. So from here, I'm going to take -1/5 and distribute it into x and positive 5. So I end up with y minus 3 equals -1/5 x plus, well, 5 times 1 is 5/5, -5/5. Well, from here, this is actually going to just simplify into being 1. So I'm just going to cross that out and plug in a 1 right here, so it's -1. And what I have from here is, let's keep moving forward. I end up with, well, y minus 3 equals -1/5 x plus -1, or I could just say -1. All right, so now my next step is let's add 3 to both sides of the equation here. So adding 3, add 3, I end up with y equals -1/5x plus 2. So the line that is perpendicular to y equaling 5x, y equals 5x is the line you were given at the expression for the line at the very beginning, y equals 5x. The one that's perpendicular is the new one, and it also passes through point -5, 3, and that happens to be y equals -1/5 x plus 2. And you know the perpendicular because the slopes are opposite reciprocals. Neat, cool stuff.